I don't even consider somebody elite unless they're willing to sell to me at a discount. I do say point blank, I'm not in a position where I can give you the highest price out there for your property. I'm an investment company. This has to be a win-win. I want to give you as much money as I can. Are you open, entertaining an offer from us?
Jaren, welcome on our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Matt Camp, head of partnerships at DealMachine. And on these, we like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, hear how you see the world evolving in the world of real estate today. So excited to really welcome on Jaren Barnes. I know you are a land investor, a real estate coach, a mentor, a deal funder, a podcaster. You've got a lot going on, man. You're the founder and CEO of the Land Maverick Society, an online community to help out land investors. And then you've also funded for those members over $1.5 million in deal acquisitions. So you've got a ton of experience you can share with our audience. I really appreciate you coming on, Jaren. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. It's an honor and a privilege. I tell you what, I the first founder, David Lecko of DealMachine, him and me actually go way back. We kind of got started randomly together in Indianapolis. I was working for a large household seller operation under a gentleman named Brett Snodgrass. Mm-hmm. And I remember him talking about DealMachine as kind of just like an idea. And, first was just a driving for dollars app that just modernized it. But now what you guys are is pretty incredible. And I don't think people fully realize how epic your guys' software is and how robust and powerful it can be. It's a lot here, man. And so I'm really kind of just super honored to be here. And, I've kind of been a fan on the sides watching you guys grow.
Thank you, man. Awesome. Yeah, that means a lot, dude. I mean, I know it's something that I really, really appreciate your feedback. You always given us a great direction on how to continue to evolve. I mean, like you said, we started off as a D4D app, and it really become kind of a full real estate data platform. And we're not going to stop there. We're continuing to get better and better, man. So, but enough about DealMachine. I want to hear about you. So let's start on your side. Tell me more about your journey, how you got into real estate. I know our audience would love to kind of hear that origin story.
Yeah, man. And I'll try my best to keep it brief. But it was a very weird journey. I was somebody who was very radical for Jesus. Like I dropped out of college to go live with no support as a volunteer over a homeless shelter in Great Bend, Kansas. And I was like 19 telling like 45-year-olds to like do the dishes and like go to court. And I met my wife on a ministry trip that we did in England. So I was one of the leaders and she was a participant. And the moment I saw her, I knew that she was my wife. I felt like the Lord spoke to me. And for people out there who might not understand these things or like whatever, just translate it to however it makes sense in your head. I'm not trying to push anything on anybody, just giving my story here. And I found out after we got married, and we actually got married at like 2.5 months of knowing each other. And like, we've been married like 13 years. It's been kind of crazy. Wow. Kids, like she's from Kazakhstan too. So like very different cultures. It's a pretty interesting story, but that aside, I found out that there is these pesky things in life called bills after I got married. And I was like 2 days into being 22. So my wife's a little older. She was 23 and I was, my birthday is July 5th and we got married July 7th. So I literally just turned 20 and had to figure out something quick that wouldn't require like years of a college degree because, you got to like actually get a house when you have a wife and stuff, pay bills and pay your own cell phone bill and stuff, right? So you got to like figure it out. And I had dropped out of college and had no real prospects. My dad, I come from a bit of a broken family. So I was like the first out of 5 boys from various marriages to actually like graduate high school. My brothers went on to like get, their GED and further education. But like, I did not come from good stock or have a leg up in life. Right. And so I was scrambling there in my early 20s, trying to figure it out. Ended up convincing somebody to hire me as they wanted a college degree, didn't have one, but as a insurance salesperson. and I like did all this stuff to like try to get them to give me on. And while I was there for the 1 month I was there, I was the number one salesperson. But
Wow.
my buddies bought into a guru program on how to flip houses in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I literally quit my job like I think on day 32 of being there or something, and left salary plus commission type situation, residual income, setup. It was a pretty decent job to go straight up door knock pre foreclosures in the ghettos of like Oakland, and
Wow.
so I went full on, and they were partnered with a house flipper that was an actually like very unethical person. Now that I know what's up with real estate, he did some stuff that was straight up illegal in his like primary strategy, but we didn't know it at the time. And I got deals. I was the number one person there. I got like 10 properties under contract. Um, but they always did it through like a short sale. Again, it's some funky stuff. I ended up having to leave and I didn't get paid anything. But I started a blog while I was there called Real Estate Catalyst, and I made a little uh, a blog post about different people and different resources in real estate. So like Bigger Pockets, Ari Tipster at the time, just a handful of people, and um, Bigger Pockets saw my blog post and they were like, "Hey, dude, thanks," And I was like, "What? These guys are talking to me." They ended up coming to do a presentation to Google for some reason, and I connected them to the main hub of people who led the like Bigger Pockets meetups in the Bay Area, so they could do like a surprise presentation. And then one thing led to another, and they were hiring, but they didn't want to hire somebody who was remote. They only wanted to have like Brandon Turner be the. This was when it was Josh Dorkin, the original founder, and just Brandon and a couple of like software engineers. And so it was like really early on. I think 2014, I think
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around there. And ended up working for Bigger Pockets. They took me on as a temp, anticipating that I would help train my replacement, but just to like fill in because they were bottlenecked, because they didn't want to force me to move to Denver, Colorado, and they didn't want another remote employee. But I learned a ton there. From there, I thought I was at this crossroads of like I got to choose content marketing or real estate. So I ended up moving to Indianapolis out of California because you can't afford life out there. Like you got to go make your money, go become somebody, and then move to California. You can't it's really hard to come up while being there. And so I moved to Indianapolis because I heard on Bigger Pockets things were popping there. And instead of pursuing content, because I had blog and I had a ministry YouTube at one stage and all this stuff, I decided to go and get my real estate license. And I was going to go the route of real estate. Ended up connecting with somebody who knew Brett as like a mentee. Like Brett was kind of showing him the ropes of wholesaling on Bigger Pockets, because I just put feelers out. Hey, I'm looking to work with somebody in the game, and Brett ended up hiring me for content. So I ended up like having launch his podcast, and halfway through my time at Simple Wholesaling, I switched to the deal side, and I was a disposition manager, and learned a bunch of stuff there. But had my license with Brett as my managing broker. And by the time when we first started, Simple Wholesaling was doing about 8 to 12 deals a month. And then by the time I left, it was we had grown to where we were doing 25 to 35 properties a month.
Wow.
And it was quite the journey. It was quite the ride. Learned a ton. And then from there, I kind of transitioned into land. Was still trying to figure out how to run my own business and cash flow and so on. And so it was very convenient because I had a relationship with Seth Williams at Ari Tipster from my Bigger Pocket days, and doing like a mastermind thing. And he's like, "Dude, if you're in a cash flow crunch, why don't you just come work for Ari Tipster and run your land business on the side while you're figuring it out?" And I was like, "Yes." So like we jumped, and I worked for Ari Tipster for like 3.5 years and was coaching people through there and still learning a ton. And then eventually, my time was up there, and we transitioned full time into the land business. And then, from a coaching standpoint, I think that's kind of what my gift is and what I'm called to do with my life. And started kind of first exposure to Ari Tipster, but there was a bit of transition period where I was in land figuring things out. Full time. My wife is running our land business full time. We're doing about 8 to 12 deals a month. We have about 60 properties in inventory on our kind of like legacy land business. But all that said, like I've kind of been more on the side of like in the trenches training people how to do the business, while my wife's been running the day to day predominantly.
Wow.
all that. So we yeah, it's in a nutshell, but did my
Yeah.
best, bro. It's a long story, a
No,
lot
no,
of
dude.
years.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's an amazing journey. And you named a lot of people that we, have had on this podcast and have, had on our channels, teamed up with before. So it's cool to hear your involvement in a variety of different worlds, different spaces there. Whenever I talk to you around the land investor, especially, I know you've kind of broken down for me like the three core skill sets of a land investor. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a crash course of what you mean by those and why those are such an important focus of what you teach and what you see in the market?
I'm a real 80/20 guy. The 80/20 principle absolutely changed my life. I thought it was like a cute pet thing. Until I read a book, you can actually see it over there. I don't know if it's showing, but
There we go.
80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. I absolutely revolutionized my life. And most people get bogged down with a bunch of noise and a bunch of distraction, and they make themselves feel busy, and they'll be tired at the end of the day, but they ain't do anything that actually move the needle towards their goals. And so not all decisions and action steps are created equal, and it's super important. So when you distill it down in the land business, our money making skill, the core essentials, boil down to three things. Land investors are experts at running comps and due diligence. Comps in land is very difficult. Conventional banks, they do not lend on vacant land because it's really hard for them to wrap their head around valuation. Professional appraisers can't wrap their head around land, even though they went to school and like they do it as a job. It's hard. It's a lot of finesse and more art than it is science. So we're experts at that. We're also experts at navigating the phones with seller prospects because I am so I'm doubling down on this. I've had some colleagues and people I respect in the space kind of politely disagree with me and like, no, you should treat all leads as equal and da da da. Because what if they convert later down the road? And I'm like, yeah, set it all that up with automatic follow up. I agree with you, but for your manual hours, like your bandwidth of you and your company, you should only be talking and nurturing people that are actually a viable customer. And for us in land, and it's similar in house wholesaling, not everybody that has a house or is interested in selling is my customer. People oftentimes they don't understand this. Sometimes you get people who come across like predatorial and like, oh, I want to try to get this deal and no matter what, and kind of like pull the wool over people's eyes. That's like a bunch of noise and you're going to burn out. Like that doesn't work. Fundamentally, every business is built on a value exchange. It's weird in our business because the price that we're getting paid for our goods and services is the discount in the purchase price. So we're exchanging money from our side, but that discount is that's our compensation. So we are only, because it's a viable business, the pricing philosophy, and there's a bunch of books and all this stuff. You cannot have a viable business unless you have something that is perceived as high enough value that a customer would be willing to pay a price for it. So like the value has to exceed the actual dollar amount that they're willing to give up. We are somebody who has an insane amount of value where like for the right person who has a property that's very hard to move. Land is a lot harder to move than houses. It's a liquid. They can liquidate an illiquid asset within literally like 3 to 4 weeks oftentimes. I mean, sometimes with due diligence, it might be 6 weeks, but let's call it 4 or 5 weeks. They can get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, they sold it at a discount, but like it's super clean and there's a value exchange there. And people don't understand that, and they don't understand that qualifying your lead or your prospects, I'll say, because I don't even consider somebody a lead unless they're willing to sell to me at a discount. And I use a lot of finesse. I don't say it that directly, like, hey, I want to buy your property for 50 cents on the dollar, bro. But I frame it in a way where I do say point blank, I'm not in a position where I can give you the highest price out there for your property. And I say I'm an investment company. This has to be a win-win. I want to give you as much money as I can, but I need you to be open to working with me. That being said, are you open, understanding how my business model works, entertaining an offer from us? And if they say some version of, yeah, I'm not going to give it away for pennies on the dollar, but I'd entertain and make sure that, if it was reasonable, I'd totally work with you. Some version of that is like our typical use case. There are the occasional like textbook motivated sellers, but people generally in land are not as motivated as they are in houses.
Mm-hmm.
So I then run from there, and that is where I will run comps. That's where I'll run like due diligence and build rapport. Another big key too, man, people optimize for the close and they need to optimize for the connection. All that being said, that's number 2. Number 3 is finding, vetting, and managing land specialized agents. And there's a big difference between an agent that is a conventional agent that might have a land listing or two, and then somebody who's a true tried land specialized agent. There's a culture. They go shoot guns. They wear camo. They grew up hunting and fishing, and they know land because they've been doing it generationally oftentimes. And they're people who just know from a due diligence standpoint and from a comp standpoint, they just have a feel that you can't get anywhere else. And, we do everything remote, but that does not mean I want to buy any property that hasn't had eyes laid on it. They don't have to be my eyes, but they have to be somebody's eyes. And that's how we solve in our model for a lot of the due diligence, heavy lifting, and walking the property and all that is working with agents that are land specialized. So.
Yeah, dude, so many good nuggets in there. Really, really appreciate you sharing that, especially the mindset around how to be transparent with the seller in a tactful way that you're really, getting them to soft commit to being open to, not paying, not selling for retail, selling for a little bit of a discount there. But you coming in and really just setting the right expectation up front so that way you're not wasting your time on a non-motivated seller. So love that. One thing that I did want to bring up, in terms of how you've kind of described to me your follow-up process, I know you've kind of mentioned almost the phrase of being politely annoying to leads, which I love. I love that phrase. Can you kind of describe your follow-up process, how you think about that, why that's so important? I'd love to know that playbook there too.
Yeah. So I'll break it down in like very practical brass tacks for you.
Amazing.
The last 60 days, I started a new land business venture for, let's just call it for experimental purposes, being able to tweak and test things out in the wild. And the default protocol for our acquisition manager on the qualification phase, the offer call phase, the counter offer call, or you could call it negotiation phase, she has a rule that she has to call everybody in those phases on a triple dial. So call, if they don't answer, hang up, wait 10 seconds, call again, do it again for a third time. And then on the third call, leave a voicemail and send a text. She has to do that 3 times a day. So that's just our baseline, because particularly in today's day and age, there's a lot of things that automatically spam phone numbers that are flagged as spam risk. And I don't know why the phone person that we use comes as spam risk, but there's even weird things where if you have an iPhone and you call me, I've been starting to notice, if people call me after 7 p.m., they have to call me twice. It doesn't ring. Well, I'll see if I got a missed call, but my phone literally doesn't ring. So you would think that with that, how aggressive that is, we would have a bunch of people who are like, why are you calling me? What's happening? Right? We have not once had somebody mention it at all. We just play dumb and don't pretend like we just called them 3 times back to back. And they, because our main marketing channel is launch control, so we're calling from a different number than what we're texting from. It takes a minute for them to connect and register who we are. And so it's aggressive. And I also tell people that I work with in a coaching capacity, real estate is every industry and every thing you do in life really has its own culture to it. But in the real estate industry, the default is calling and texting people. I've had to do a lot of adjusting on my side, being more in the trenches on content and coaching and stuff, because most people are default to email and booking link, and I have those things, but I literally give out my personal cell phone number to all of the members that I work with one-on-one. and offer like unlimited. I'm not a real like tried and true coach. I don't know what a better phrase is, but I'm more like a fractional partner.
Okay.
Like we'll actually call seller leads and agents and run the stuff with our members. And so
It's awesome.
I take a day off every Saturday, put it on my family, and put like rest. And there's a lot I could say on that. I could probably write a whole book on that. But I literally am sometimes Sunday afternoon. I'm meeting with members, having a chit chat, like whatever they need. But even with giving that much exposure, I still run across people who feel like they are bothering me. But I'm like, you've paid access to get my cell phone number. Like if there's something you need, you should call me. And whether it's me, whether it's a seller, whether it's an agent, whether it's a title company or a vendor doing like due diligence, you should be like aggressive and call people. Like I mean, and you don't want to be overly like don't call them every hour on the hour, but like
Mhm.
you know, err on the side of sorry for being annoying. Like so be politely annoying.
Yeah, I love the phrasing, and yeah, man, this has been super super helpful for just getting our people in the right mindset because, again, like when you're using DealMachine, I mean, we've got the dialer, we've got the skip tracing, we've got email options, we've got direct mail, you've got a lot of marketing options there, and just giving people permission to go out there and once you've built that relationship, once you've established contact, to really be able to follow up in a consistent way and really stay pushing the ball forward and put it in your hands in terms of really getting that next step with the seller. I mean, I think it's super helpful to kind of hear step by step exactly how you're doing that. So, Jaren, I know we only have a few minutes left, man. This has been awesome. What again is the best way to get for people to get involved with you? Like, I'd love for people to be able to connect with you directly too, especially if they're interested in land.
Yeah, man. And if you guys are listening right now and you are in the house wholesaling space, maybe if you're like you started there but you're having some trouble getting some breakthrough and some success, there's a lot of overlap between there's like it's pretty much
Mm-hmm.
80% the same business, but there's just about a 20% nuance. What I would love to work with you. I'm not somebody who like strong arms people or like force. I'm not a used car sale
Mm-hmm.
tactics like Jedi mind tricks. Thus must work with me. I'm very chill, and I kind of believe in a I like the model of being able to show and tell. So what I do for people if I'm on a podcast or what have you is I offer a free 30-minute coaching call.
Awesome.
So I will talk about what we do and what it might look like for us to work together for a good fit. But I really do try to give value, like objectively.
Amazing.
If we don't work together, like I am going to be coaching you and kind of again, like a show and tell type model. So if you text the word deal machine to 219-419-7797. So deal machine, so it's two words, the phrase deal machine to 219-419-7797. We'll get you on the books and we'll do a free 30-minute powwow on kind of whatever you want to talk about related to land, house, real estate, what have you.
Incredible, man. Yeah. Thank you for being such an awesome resource to the community. I can vouch for, like you said, it's, you're definitely a genuine chill guy, like always looking to try to help people. So really, really appreciate you giving that resource to our whole community. And I'll make sure we include that in the description here. So that way people can easily follow up with you directly. And it's funny to hear about your background too. My before real estate, I was also in the content marketing agency world. So definitely you have that kind of content background and a lot of the stuff you're talking about there of, using email and booking links and LinkedIn over call text. I've had to adjust to. So, yeah, it's cool hearing your story, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on, and you gave so much value to our people too. So, Jaren, we'll have to do it again soon, man.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Till next time.
Absolutely. Yeah. To everyone watching, is Matt Camp over here with DealMachine, and happy deal finding.